Sending the same email to multiple recipients can seem rather impersonal, but it's easy to address them individually. I've opened individual.php in the chapter 5, 05_01 folder of the exercise files. On lines 4 to 9 is a mixed array called recipients. Each array element is a variable that draws an email address from config.php, and in 2 cases I've added a name to the email address. I want to loop through the recipients array to send the same email to each one individually. In the try block, I've created an instance of Swift message, set the subject, the from address, the body of the email, but there's no to address. The script then initializes an SMTP transport and creates an instance of Swift Mailer, but there's no code yet to send the emails. To send the email to individual addresses, we need to create a loop to iterate over the recipients array. But before doing so, I want to initialize a couple of variables to keep track of what's going on. The first one will keep count of the number of emails that have been sent successfully. So I'll call that sent and initialize it at 0. And the second one will keep track of email addresses that have been rejected by the server. I'll call that failures, and it will be an empty array. Now, before we actually create the for each loop, I think it's important to check what's actually inside the recipients array. And down at the bottom, I'm using printr here to inspect the recipients array. So let's just save that file and then load it into a browser. And here are the contents of the recipients array. And the important thing to note is that where you've got both an email address and a name, the email address is the key and the name is the value. But where there is only an email address, the email address is the value and the key is an integer. So that will affect how we deal with things inside our for each loop. So let's get back to the editing program. We don't need printr anymore, so we can comment out those 3 lines. Then we need to create our loop to send the individual emails. So it's for each, and we're going through the recipients array, and we need to get both the key and the value of each array element. And inside the loop we need to check whether the key is an integer. So if is int, we pass it the key. If it is, we invoke the message object's setTo method and pass it simply the value. But if it's not an integer, we know we've got both the email address and the name. So else, again the message object, and we invoke its setTo method. Because we're using both the email address and the name, we need to have an associative array in here. So the email address is key and the name is value. It's important to use the setTo method rather than addTo, because addTo will keep on adding addresses each time we go through the loop, whereas setTo always will overwrite the previous value. So we can now send each message individually using the mailer's send method. This returns the number of emails sent, but because we're sending only one at a time, we need to add the number to the sent variable. So after that conditional statement, sent plus equals, then we use the mailer object and its send method, and we pass it the message that we want to send. And we can also add a second argument here. The send method takes an optional second argument, which is an array that's passed by reference, and that stores the rejected addresses. So that's why I created failures before. We just pass that as the second argument to the send method. After the for each loop, we can display the results. So let's just do that down at the bottom here. So if sent, if that contains a number greater than 0, we know we've got emails that have been sent. so we can echo the number of emails that have been sent and the value of sent, and then I'll have a line break after that. We also need to check the failures array. If anything has failed, the failures array will contain value, so this will equate to true. So if failures, we need to echo, and failures is an array, so we need to loop through that for each failures as failure, and then we echo the value of failure. So that completes the script. Let's just save that and load the page into a browser to run the script. And it tells us that the number of emails sent has been 4. So let's go to my email program and wait to see the results. And they've all come in. There's one in each there. So let's test this one first. Individually addressed message. It's just been sent to test account 1. Let's have a look at this one. Another individually addressed message. It's just been sent to another@foundationphp.com, and we'll find exactly the same with these other two. This has been sent to test account 3, and this last one has been sent to secret@foundationphp.com. So it's the same email that's been delivered to each address, but each one has been addressed individually. To send an individually addressed message to multiple recipients, all that's necessary is to use a loop to invoke the set_to method on the message object and then send it. SwiftMailer does this very efficiently because, unlike the PHP mail function, it keeps the connection to the mail transfer agent open until the loop ends. In this example, you've also seen how to pass an array as the second argument to the send method of the mailer. This needs to be an empty array that will capture addresses rejected by the server. However, in my experience, this isn't all that useful because servers don't usually check whether the address is deliverable. As long as the address is in the correct format, the server will accept the email and try to deliver it, only giving up after several days and then bouncing the message back to the from address.